Round 1. The Clock of Vengeance. Begins to tick. Pacquiao, wearing black trunks, looked just like always. Agile, defined, and so focused that not even a fire breaking out next to him would pull his eyes off his opponent. Broner, on the other hand, came in with red and white trunks and a noticeably more worried expression. He knew he couldn't afford to slip up, and it was clear he had trained hard enough to make his muscles look like they might burst. Everything was set. Who would win? Old school stares death in the face, and death stares back. When the bell rang, the energy inside the MGM Grand was electric. Manny Pacquiao, the 8-division world champion, the man who had electrified the world with his speed, stepped into the ring with a ferocity that defied his age. His plan was crystal clear. Pressure, pressure, and more pressure. Pacquiao used his signature footwork and feints to confuse Broner, firing off quick combinations to the body and head. Broner, the so-called heir to Mayweather, didn't live up to the nickname. Instead of boxing, he stayed on the defensive, tight guard, barely throwing punches. He looked more like a sparring partner than a world title contender. His goal wasn't to win, it was to survive. Maybe it was Broner's strategy all along. Many have found it nearly impossible to trade with Pacquiao early in a fight due to his speed and power, even at 40 years old. Interesting detail. Pacquiao's relentless pressure was a flashback to his prime. He wasn't just throwing punches. His lateral movement made him a nightmare for a static fighter like Broner. The Filipino, still lightning fast at 40, was unloading 4, 5, even 6-punch combinations that kept Broner constantly on the back foot. The middle rounds. A cold, technical beating. As the rounds went on, the beating became more evident and more painful. Pacquiao outperformed Broner in every boxing metric. Punch volume. Pacquiao threw and landed far more punches per round, completely controlling the pace of the fight. Broner, meanwhile, limited himself to 1 or 2 jabs per round, with no real intent to hurt his opponent. Aggression. Manny was constantly moving forward, cutting off the ring and trapping Broner against the ropes again and again, punishing him with flurries of punches that made the crowd erupt. Broner, by contrast, kept moving backward, clinching, and looking at the referee as if searching for a lifeline. Strategy. Pacquiao showed superior tactical intelligence. His jabs weren't just for maintaining distance. They were setups for his signature powerful left hooks, the very ones that made Pac-Man a household name. The crowd, who had paid to see a war, was visibly disappointed by Broner's passivity, especially after he had promised fireworks during the pre-fight hype. Every punch Manny landed was a reminder that respect is earned with actions, not words. Round after round, Broner still failed to land a meaningful punch or counter. There was no doubt that Pacquiao had him mentally cornered. Broner knew that a single mistake could cost him the fight. The climax, the scare, and the final humiliation. In the 7th round, the most dramatic moment of the fight arrived. Pacquiao, with an explosive combination, landed a left hand that shook Broner to his core. The American stumbled backward, clearly hurt and disoriented. For a few seconds, the brash talker disappeared, and in his place stood a fighter desperate just to survive. Manny, with the killer instinct he had never lost, chased him around the ring, unleashing a storm of punches. Broner barely managed to stay on his feet, and the round ended with the crowd standing, waiting for the knockout. Fun fact, despite his inevitable defeat, Broner never hit the canvas. His only virtue that night was his chin. It held up against Pacquiao's hardest shots, something many of the Filipinos' younger opponents couldn't do. However, all that did was prolong the punishment. The final rounds were a clear walk in the park for Pacquiao. With tireless rhythm, the Filipino kept landing punches and wearing down a Broner who was no longer putting up any resistance. Broner's body language said it all. Head down, arms tucked in, constantly seeking to clinch. The fight had become a Pacquiao monologue, and he closed it out with the same energy he started with. There's no doubt, Pacquiao's vitality is astonishing. Anyone else would have tired out just from throwing that many punches into a wall, yet Manny never let up. And even though Broner knew a knockout was his only shot at victory, you have to admit, he took the beating like a champion. The verdict, the end of the farce. When the final bell rang, there was no doubt. Manny Pacquiao's victory was inevitable. The judges' scorecards only confirmed what everyone in the arena and at home already knew. Judge 1 117 to 111 for Pacquiao. Judge 2 116 to 112 for Pacquiao. Judge 3 116 to 112 for Pacquiao Manny. Pacquiao took the win by unanimous decision. This fight wasn't just a title defense, it was a statement. At 40 years old, Pacquiao proved that age is just a number when you have discipline, a strong work ethic, and the heart of a true champion. Adrian Broner, on the other hand, was exposed for what he had always been, a social media persona, an unfulfilled talent lost in his own arrogance. His attempt to humiliate a legend ended in his own public humiliation. And once again, boxing delivered justice in the ring. Many of us remember Pacquiao with nostalgia and affection because he's given us countless incredible fights, even in bouts where the stats weren't in his favor. And you? What did you think of this epic boxing lesson? Did you really believe Pacquiao could dominate Broner like that at 40 years old? Or did the result surprise you? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that will make you feel the passion of boxing deep in your chest. Stick around for the next video. We promise you're going to like it even more than this one. What's up, warriors of the ring and lovers of boxing stories that feel like Hollywood scripts? Get ready to relive a night where youthful arrogance crashed headfirst into the wisdom, heart, and experience of an icon. This wasn't just a fight for a belt. It was a reckoning, a lesson in respect delivered blow by blow. We're transported to the legendary MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, on January 19, 2019. The atmosphere was a mix of admiration and contempt. In one corner, the idol, the national hero of the Philippines, a man who seemed immune to the passage of time and who, at 40 years old, was still a whirlwind of speed and power, Manny Pacquiao. In the other corner, a talented but erratic fighter with an ego as big as his self-proclaimed nickname, The Problem, Adrian Broner. A man who, in the lead-up to the fight, did everything he could to humiliate and underestimate a legend, not knowing he was only digging his own grave. Are you ready to dive into the details of this showdown? From the build-up to the drama of every round? The bell is about to ring for a night that redefined the true meaning of being a champion. The build-up, humiliation, and arrogance. To understand the magnitude of what happened in the ring, it's vital to revisit the psychological warfare that took place in the weeks leading up to the fight. At 40 years old, Manny Pacquiao had returned to elite boxing after his loss to Jeff Horn. Despite a dominant win over Lucas Matthysse to claim a title, many questioned whether his age would finally catch up with him. Adrian Broner, with a history of disappointing performances and an oversized ego, saw this fight as his golden opportunity. At 29, Broner declared himself a future Hall of Famer and the heir to Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s throne, despite his obvious flaws. During press conferences, Broner spent his time insulting and belittling Pacquiao with shocking levels of disrespect. He mocked his age, calling him old and washed up. He insulted his legacy, claiming this was the fight that would change his life, not Pacquiao's, implying that the Filipino was no longer relevant. He mocked his English, imitating Manny's accent and making fun of the way he spoke. He underestimated his power. In the final press conference, Broner said, "He's got a better chance of becoming a driving instructor than beating me." A comment that would later echo back as the sound of his own humiliation. Without a doubt, Broner seized the moment to generate hype and dominate headlines and social media. At 40, Pacquiao still captured the attention of boxing fans, and Broner wanted the spotlight. The public, well aware of Manny's humility, looked on with indignation at Broner's behavior. This fight became a clash of values. Pacquiao's work ethic and respect versus Broner's shameless arrogance. Key fact, the betting odds had Pacquiao as the favorite, but not by much. Many analysts believe that Broner's youth, reach, and supposedly better defense might be enough to frustrate the Filipino, especially if the fight went the distance. Would he be able to seize this golden opportunity and defeat the legendary Pacquiao? We're about to find out.